The grease under my fingernails felt cold against the metal wrench as my phone buzzed against the concrete garage floor. Hazel's name flashed on the screen with a location share notification. Coffee study group at the library, her text read. But the little blue dot on my map app showed her at Riverside Student Housing, 3 miles from any library. I wiped my hands on an old rag, the bitter November air cutting through the open garage door. The radio crackled with static as I stared at that dot, watching it pulse like a heartbeat. After 6 years together, 3 of them engaged, I knew Hazel's patterns. She studied at the kitchen table with her textbooks spread like a fortress around her coffee mug. She didn't do study groups. She definitely didn't do parties. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Maya, Hazel's best friend from graduate school. "Graham, you seen these pics? Party's getting wild tonight." The message came with 3 photos attached. My stomach dropped as I opened them. The first photo showed a crowded apartment living room, red Solo cups scattered everywhere, students packed shoulder to shoulder. The second was a group shot of laughing faces, Hazel visible in the background near a kitchen doorway. The third made me freeze. Hazel stood in the center of what looked like a makeshift dance floor, wearing the semi-sheer black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. The fabric clung to her curves, and through the thin material I could see the outline of the lace bra underneath. She had her arms around 2 guys I didn't recognize, one tall with dark hair, the other shorter with a cocky smile. All 3 were laughing, drinks in hand, Hazel's head thrown back in the kind of carefree joy I hadn't seen from her in months. "What the hell?" I muttered, zooming in on the photo. The timestamp showed it was taken 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes after she'd texted me about coffee and studying. My phone rang. Maya's name flashed on the screen. "Graham, did you see the photos?" "I saw them. Where exactly is this party?" "Building C at Riverside, apartment 3B. Listen, I tried to get her to leave, but she's pretty drunk, like really drunk. I've never seen her like this." I was already grabbing my keys from the workbench. "How long has she been there?" "Since around 8, I think. Graham, there's something else." Maya's voice dropped lower, like she was moving away from the noise. "She's been hanging all over these 2 guys all night, Lucas and some other grad student. I tried to talk to her, but she just laughed and said she was finally having fun for once." The keys bit into my palm as I squeezed them. "Send me the address." "Graham, maybe you should just—" "Send me the address, Maya." The line went quiet for a moment. Then, "Okay, but be careful. She's not acting like herself tonight." I hung up and slammed the garage door shut. The drive to Riverside took 12 minutes, but it felt like an hour. My mind raced through every possible explanation. Maybe it was innocent, maybe she'd run into classmates and got swept up in the moment, maybe the photos looked worse than they were. But that location share kept nagging at me. She'd lied about where she was going. That wasn't like Hazel. In 6 years, she'd never outright lied to me about anything important. Riverside Student Housing was a complex of converted apartment buildings that the university used for graduate students and seniors. I'd been here once before, helping Hazel move a friend out after a bad breakup. The buildings were old but well-maintained, with narrow hallways and thin walls that made privacy impossible. I parked across the street and sat in my truck for a moment, engine ticking as it cooled. Through the windows of Building C, I could see the glow of party lights and the shadows of moving figures. Bass thumped from the 3rd floor, rattling the windows. My phone buzzed with another message from Maya. "3rd floor, apartment B. The door's probably unlocked. Everyone's been going in and out." I climbed the stairs 2 at a time, my work boots heavy on the metal steps. The hallway reeked of spilled beer and marijuana. Apartment 3B sat at the end of the corridor, and I could hear voices and music bleeding through the door. I knocked first. No answer. The music was too loud. I tried the handle. Unlocked, just like Maya said. The apartment was packed with people I didn't recognize, mostly college kids in their early 20s. The air was thick with smoke and the sweet smell of alcohol. I pushed through the crowd, scanning faces, looking for Hazel's distinctive auburn hair. "Excuse me," I said to a girl near the kitchen. "Have you seen a woman, about 5'6", red hair, black dress?" She pointed toward a hallway leading to the bedrooms. "I think she went that way with Lucas and Jake, like 10 minutes ago, maybe?" My heart hammered against my ribs as I followed her direction. The hallway was dimmer, lit only by the glow from the main room. 3 doors lined the corridor, 2 open, revealing empty bedrooms, and 1 closed at the end. I could hear voices behind the closed door, muffled laughter. A woman's voice that sounded like Hazel, though higher and breathier than usual. Then a man's voice, low and encouraging. I reached for the handle, but it was locked. "Hazel," I called out, knocking on the door. The voices inside went quiet. "Hazel, it's Graham. Open the door." More silence. Then shuffling sounds, like people moving around quickly. By now, several party guests had noticed the commotion and gathered in the hallway behind me. I heard someone whisper, "Oh shit, is that her boyfriend?" Another voice, "Someone's getting busted." I felt my phone vibrate and saw that people were already taking photos and videos. Great. This was about to become a spectacle. "Hazel!" I knocked harder. "I know you're in there. Just open the door." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I heard the lock click. The door opened slowly, revealing Hazel's flushed face. Her hair was messed up, lipstick smeared, and the strap of her dress had fallen off one shoulder. Behind her, I could see two guys, the same ones from Maya's photos, hurriedly adjusting their shirts and running hands through their hair. The taller one, Lucas, had his shirt completely unbuttoned. The shorter guy was zipping up his jeans. Hazel stared at me with wide, glassy eyes. "Graham, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the small velvet ring box I'd been carrying around for weeks, waiting for the right moment to propose. "I was planning to surprise you after your study group. Guess the surprise is on me." Her eyes focused on the ring box, and I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, panic, maybe both. "Graham, this isn't what it looks like. Really, because it looks like you lied about where you were going tonight so you could get drunk and sleep around with these two assholes." Lucas stepped forward, his chest puffed out. "Hey man, you need to calm down. Nobody made her do anything." I looked him up and down. Expensive clothes, perfectly styled hair, the kind of entitled rich kid who'd never been punched in the face. "And you are?" "Lucas Morrison. I'm in Hazel's graduate program." "Lucas Morrison." I repeated the name slowly, committing it to memory. "Well, Lucas Morrison, I suggest you step back before I make you step back." "Graham, please," Hazel said, her voice slurring slightly. "Can we just talk about this at home?" "Talk about what?" "About how you told me you were getting coffee with classmates while you were actually getting fingered by grad school pretty boys?" The crowd behind me had grown larger, and I could hear the distinct sound of multiple phones recording. This was going to be all over social media within the hour. "You know what, Hazel?" I held up the ring box and opened it, revealing the diamond solitaire I'd saved for months to buy. "I was going to ask you to marry me tonight. I had this whole thing planned. Dinner at that Italian place you love, then a walk by the lake where we had our first date." Her face crumpled. "Graham, But instead, I get to find out that my girlfriend of 6 years is a lying whore who can't even keep her legs closed at a college party." I snapped the ring box shut and put it back in my pocket. "We're done. Don't come home tonight. Don't come home ever." I turned to leave, but Lucas grabbed my arm. "You can't talk to her like that, man. That's screwed up." I looked down at his hand on my arm, then back up at his face. "You've got exactly 3 seconds to let go of me before I break your nose." He must have seen something in my eyes that convinced him I wasn't bluffing, because he immediately dropped his hand. "Smart choice," I said. Then I looked back at Hazel one more time. 6 years. 6 years I wasted on you." I pushed through the crowd and walked out of the apartment, leaving behind the woman I'd thought I was going to marry and the future I'd been planning for both of us. The drive home was a blur of streetlights and rage. I kept replaying the scene in my head: Hazel's smeared makeup, the guys adjusting their clothes, the smell of intimacy and alcohol in that cramped bedroom. How long had this been going on? Was this the first time, or just the first time I'd caught her? My phone had been buzzing nonstop during the drive. Text messages, missed calls, social media notifications. I ignored them all until I got home. Our house, my house now, I guess, sat dark and empty at the end of Maple Street. It was a modest 2-bedroom that we'd bought together 3 years ago, back when we were planning a future that included marriage and kids, and growing old together. Now it just felt like a monument to my stupidity. I sat in my truck in the driveway and finally looked at my phone. 37 missed calls from Hazel, dozens of text messages, and notifications from Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat that made my stomach turn. The videos were already online. Someone had posted a clip of the hallway confrontation with the caption, "When you lie about studying, but your man shows up with a ring." It had been shared 43 times in the past hour. Another video showed the moment I opened the ring box, Hazel's face clearly visible as she realized what she'd lost. The comments were brutal. She really threw away a proposal for some random hookup. That poor guy. You can see his heart breaking in real time. Why do girls always cheat on the good ones? She belongs to the streets now. My phone rang. Hazel again. I let it go to voicemail, then immediately played the message. "Graham, please pick up. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but please just let me explain. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was drunk and stupid, and I made a terrible mistake. Please don't throw away everything we have over one night. I love you. Please call me back. I deleted the message without listening to it again. The next few hours were a haze of beer and rage. I sat in my garage, drinking and thinking about all the signs I'd missed. Hazel working late more often, her phone always face down on tables. The way she'd been distant during intimacy lately, like her mind was somewhere else. Around 2 a.m., my phone rang again. This time it was Maya. Graham, are you okay? Just peachy. Thanks for the heads up tonight, by the way. Real friendly of you. I thought you should know. I've been worried about her lately. She's been acting strange, hanging out with different people, staying out later. How long has this been going on? Maya was quiet for a moment. I don't know for sure. Maybe a month? She started going to these graduate student mixers, meeting people from other programs. Lucas is in the English department, getting his PhD. He's got money, drives a nice car, you know the type. Rich asshole who thinks he can take whatever he wants. Pretty much. But Graham, I think there's more to this than just tonight. I've seen her with him before, at coffee shops around campus. And there's been rumors. What kind of rumors? That she's been telling people you two have been having problems. That you're holding her back from her career goals. That you don't understand her academic ambitions. I crushed the empty beer can in my hand. Academic ambitions. Right. Is that what they're calling it now? I'm sorry, Graham. I really am. I thought you guys were solid. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my garage and made a decision. Hazel wanted to play games? Fine. I'd show her what games looked like. The next morning, I called in sick to work and started making phone calls. First, I called Hazel's parents in Connecticut. Her father answered on the third ring. Graham, it's early. Is everything okay? Hi, Mr. Patterson. I'm afraid I have some bad news about Hazel. I told him everything, about the lies, the party, the videos that were now circulating online. I sent him the links to the social media posts and the photos Maya had shared with me. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, I said, but I thought you should know what your daughter has been up to with the money you've been sending her for graduate school. The silence on the other end of the line stretched for nearly a minute. Are you certain about this, Graham? The videos are online, sir. You can see for yourself. I see. Well, thank you for informing us. We'll be having a conversation with Hazel very soon. My second call was to the University of Connecticut Graduate School Administration. I asked to speak with someone about student conduct violations. I'd like to report a graduate student who may be violating the university's code of conduct, I told the woman who answered. What type of violation are you reporting? Underage drinking, public intoxication, and conduct unbecoming a graduate student. I have video evidence. I spent 20 minutes walking the administrator through the events of the previous night, providing names, dates, and links to the social media posts. The university took academic reputation seriously, especially for graduate students who were receiving funding and assistantships. We'll open an investigation immediately, the woman assured me. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. My third call was to Maya. Graham, how are you holding up? I'm fine. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. How long have you known about Hazel and Lucas? Another pause. What do you mean? Maya, I'm not stupid. You just happened to be at that party with your camera ready? You just happened to have the perfect photos to send me at the exact right time? You've known about this for a while. Graham, how long? 3 weeks, she said quietly. I saw them together at a coffee shop near campus. They were holding hands, and when I confronted her about it, she made me promise not to tell you. But you told me anyway. Because last night was different. Last night she crossed a line. She was completely wasted, making out with both of those guys in front of everyone. It was humiliating to watch. I couldn't let her destroy herself like that. Or maybe you couldn't let her destroy me like that. Maybe both. I thanked Maya and hung up. Then I opened my laptop and started doing research. Lucas Morrison turned out to be exactly what I'd expected, a trust fund kid from New York whose father owned a chain of luxury hotels. He drove a BMW, lived in an expensive off-campus apartment, and had a history of dating younger undergraduate women. His Instagram was full of photos from expensive restaurants and weekend trips to Martha's Vineyard. The other guy from the bedroom, Jake Sullivan, was harder to track down, but I eventually found his Facebook profile. He was a master's student in business, also from a wealthy family, also with a history of party photos and multiple girlfriends. These weren't just random guys Hazel had met at a party. These were calculated choices, wealthy, connected men who could offer her things I couldn't, a lifestyle I couldn't provide. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't about one drunken mistake. This was about Hazel deciding she wanted something different, something better than a machinist who worked with his hands and lived in a modest house on the wrong side of town. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey man, this is Lucas. We need to talk." I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, "No, we don't." "Look, I know you're pissed, but Hazel's really upset. She's been crying all morning. Maybe we can work something out." Work something out? This entitled piece of shit thought he could negotiate with me like I was some kind of business deal. "Here's what we're going to work out," I typed. "You're going to stay away from my ex-girlfriend, and I'm going to stay away from you. That's the deal. Don't be a dick about this. She's an adult who can make her own choices." "You're right. And she chose to throw away 6 years for a few hours with you and your buddy. Congratulations. You want a used whore. Screw you, asshole." I screenshot the conversation and added it to my growing file of evidence. Then I blocked his number. Over the next few days, the story continued to spread through social media and around campus. The original videos had been shared hundreds of times, and new angles kept appearing as more people posted their footage from that night. Hazel tried calling me every day, sometimes multiple times. She left voicemails begging me to talk to her, promising it would never happen again, claiming she loved me and wanted to work things out. I deleted them all without listening to the full messages. On Thursday, she showed up at my house. I was in the garage working on my truck when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Through the window, I saw Hazel's Honda Civic, the same car we'd bought together 2 years ago when her old one died. She knocked on the front door first. When I didn't answer, she came around to the garage. "Graham, please, can we just talk?" I didn't look up from the engine. Nothing to talk about. "Yes, there is. I made a mistake, okay? A huge, terrible mistake. But we can get past this." "Can we? Can we get past you lying to me about where you were going? Can we get past you sleeping with 2 guys at a college party while I was at home planning to propose to you?" "I didn't sleep with them." I finally looked at her. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in on social media yesterday. "Really? So what exactly happened in that bedroom?" "We were just talking, and things got out of hand. There was some kissing and touching, but we didn't have intimacy." "Oh, well, that makes it so much better. Thanks for clearing that up." "Graham, please, I love you. I want to marry you. I want us to work through this." I wiped my hands on a rag and finally gave her my full attention. "You want to marry me? Now? After you've been sneaking around with college boys for weeks?" "It wasn't weeks. Maya told me about the coffee shop. She told me about the rumors you've been spreading about our relationship, how I'm holding you back from your career goals." Hazel's face flushed. "I never said that. So Maya's lying? I might have vented to some friends about feeling stuck sometimes, but that doesn't mean I don't love you." "Feeling stuck?" I nodded slowly. "With me?" "With the situation. With feeling like I have to choose between my education and my relationship." "Nobody asked you to choose. I've supported your graduate school plans from day one. I've paid more than my share of the bills so you could focus on studying. I've listened to you complain about professors and assignments for 3 years without once telling you to quit. I know, and I appreciate that, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. You needed something more, something better, someone with money and connections and a trust fund. That's not what this is about. Isn't it? Lucas Morrison, Hotel Fortune, Jake Sullivan, Daddy's Construction Empire. You think I don't know how to use Google?" Hazel looked down at her feet. "It's not about money." "Then what is it about?" "I don't know. I was drunk and stupid, and they were paying attention to me in a way that felt exciting and new. And I'm boring and old." "You're not old. But yes, sometimes things between us feel routine, predictable." The honesty stung worse than the lies. "So you decided to spice things up by cheating on me." "I didn't plan for it to happen." "But you're glad it did." She was quiet for a long moment. "No, I'm not glad. I hate myself for hurting you." "But you're not sorry you did it." Another pause. "I don't know." At least she was being honest now. "Get out." "Graham, get out of my garage and don't come back." "What about my stuff?" "I'll put it on the porch. You can pick it up tomorrow." She started crying then, big dramatic sobs that might have moved me a week ago. Now they just sounded like manipulation. "Please don't do this. Please don't throw away everything we built together." "I'm not throwing it away. You already did that." After she left, I went inside and started gathering her belongings. Clothes from the closet, toiletries from the bathroom, books and papers from her study corner in the living room. 6 years of shared life reduced to cardboard boxes and trash bags. I found things that made my stomach turn, receipts from expensive restaurants I'd never been to, ticket stubs from concerts she'd claimed to attend with girlfriends, a spare phone charger that didn't match any phone I'd ever seen her use. At the bottom of her jewelry box, I found a business card for Lucas Morrison with a handwritten note on the back. "For when you're ready to see what you're missing." I took a photo of the card and added it to my evidence file. That night, I got a call from Hazel's father. "Graham, I owe you an apology." "For what, sir?" "For raising a daughter who could treat you this way. Margaret and I are horrified by what we've seen." "I appreciate that, Mr. Patterson. We've decided to suspend Hazel's financial support until she gets her life straightened out. No more money for rent, groceries, or tuition. If she wants to act like a child, she can figure out how to support herself like an adult." "That seems fair." "We also wanted you to know that we consider you family, regardless of what happens between you and Hazel. You've been nothing but good to our daughter, and she's thrown it away for reasons we can't understand." After I hung up, I felt a grim satisfaction. Hazel's parents had been sending her nearly $2,000 a month to cover her living expenses while she focused on graduate school. Without that money, she'd have to get a job or find another source of income, or find a boyfriend with a trust fund. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Hazel's been asking me to talk to you. She wants me to convince you to give her another chance." "What did you tell her?" "That she made her bed, and now she has to lie in it, alone." "Good. There's something else you should know. The university opened a formal investigation into her conduct. She might lose her graduate assistantship. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." "Graham, I have to ask, are you okay? I mean, really okay? Because some of the things you've been posting on social media are pretty harsh." I scrolled through my recent posts. Screenshots of Hazel's lies about the coffee study group, photos of the engagement ring she'd thrown away, a detailed timeline of her deception with dates and evidence. "I'm just telling the truth." "I know, but maybe it's time to let it go. She's already lost you, her parents' support, and possibly her academic career. Isn't that enough?" "Is it enough? Let me think about that." I paused for effect. "No." "What else are you planning to do?" "Whatever it takes to make sure everyone knows exactly who Hazel Patterson really is." The next morning, I created a detailed post on Facebook that laid out the entire timeline of Hazel's deception. I included screenshots of her lies about studying, photos from the party, video clips of the bedroom confrontation, and documentation of her weeks-long affair with Lucas. I tagged everyone we knew, friends, family, coworkers, classmates. I made sure the post was public so it would show up in search results for her name. Within hours, the post had dozens of comments and shares. Old friends who'd always liked Hazel were expressing shock and disappointment. Family members were offering support and asking if I needed anything. But the comment that satisfied me most came from Lucas Morrison himself. "This is harassment, and I'm reporting it to the police." I replied publicly. "It's not harassment when everything I've posted is true and documented with evidence. But please, call the police. I'd love to show them the videos of you with my girlfriend." He deleted his comment within minutes. That afternoon, I got a call from Officer Janet Carter with the local police department. "Mr. Graham, I'm calling about a complaint we received regarding social media harassment." "Let me guess, Lucas Morrison?" "I can't confirm who filed the complaint, but I need to ask you about some recent posts you've made online." "What about them?" "The complainant alleges that you're posting private information and images without consent." "Everything I've posted happened at a public party with dozens of witnesses. The videos were taken by other people and shared publicly before I ever reposted them. And the text messages and photos I've shared were sent to me directly." "I see. And you have documentation of all this?" "I have everything saved and backed up. Timestamps, metadata, witness statements. Would you like me to email you the files?" "That won't be necessary right now. Just be aware that if this escalates to actual threats or stalking behavior, we'll have to take action." "Understood. But posting factual information about someone's public behavior isn't illegal, is it?" "No, it's not. Just keep it factual and avoid anything that could be construed as threatening." After I hung up, I felt even more confident in my approach. The police couldn't stop me from telling the truth, and Lucas's attempt to intimidate me had backfired. Over the next week, the consequences of Hazel's actions continued to pile up. The university suspended her graduate assistantship pending the outcome of their investigation. Without her parents' financial support and her assistantship stipend, she couldn't afford her apartment and had to move in with a friend. Maya told me that Hazel had tried to get a job waitressing, but the viral videos had made her recognizable around town. 2 restaurants had turned her down after managers Googled her name and found the social media posts. "She's basically unemployable in this town," Maya said during one of our phone conversations. Everyone knows who she is. Good. Actions have consequences. Don't you think she's suffered enough? Let me ask you something, Maya. If I hadn't shown up at that party, what do you think would have happened? I don't know. She would have slept with both those guys, come home the next morning, and lied to my face about where she'd been. Then she would have kept seeing them behind my back while planning our wedding and letting me pay for everything. You don't know that? Yes, I do, because that's exactly what she was already doing. The only thing that changed was that she got caught. So what's your end game here? How long are you planning to keep this up? Until everyone knows who she really is. And then what? Then she can start over somewhere else with someone who doesn't mind dating a lying whore. Maya was quiet for a moment. You're scaring me a little, Graham. Good. Maybe you'll think twice before you help someone cheat on their partner. I didn't help her cheat. I told you what was happening. Only after it became public. You kept her secret for weeks. Because I was trying to protect both of you. Well, you failed. 2 weeks after the party, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Jake Sullivan. We need to meet. I was intrigued. The other guy from the bedroom had been quiet since the incident. No social media posts, no attempts to contact me. I'd almost forgotten about him. Why? I texted back. Because this has gone far enough. Hazel's life is ruined and you need to back off. Meet me at Murphy's Bar on State Street. 1 hour. Murphy's was the kind of dive bar where I felt comfortable. Dim lighting, cheap beer, and a clientele that minded their own business. I arrived early and claimed a corner booth where I could see the entire room. Jake Sullivan looked different than he had at the party. Gone were the expensive clothes and cocky attitude. He wore jeans and a plain t-shirt, and his face was drawn with stress. Thanks for meeting me, he said, sliding into the booth across from me. What do you want? I want you to leave Hazel alone. I'm not bothering Hazel. I haven't contacted her in 2 weeks. You know what I mean. The social media posts, the public shaming, getting her parents involved. It's gone too far. Has it? Because from where I'm sitting, it hasn't gone nearly far enough. Jake leaned forward. Look, I get that you're angry. You have every right to be. But Hazel's a good person who made a mistake. A good person? A good person doesn't lie to their fiancé about where they're going so they can sleep around with college boys. She was drunk and confused and horny. Don't forget horny. This isn't a joke, man. She's talking about dropping out of school and moving back home. Her whole future is screwed because of one night. One night that you helped make happen. Jake looked down at his hands. I know, and I feel terrible about it. Do you? Because you haven't exactly been rushing to take responsibility for your part in this. What do you want me to do? I want you to post a public apology explaining your role in what happened. I want you to admit that you pursued a woman you knew was in a relationship, and I want you to encourage Lucas to do the same. Lucas won't do that. Why not? Because his family has lawyers and money, and they don't want this following him around forever. Ah, there it is. Rich boy doesn't want to face consequences for his actions. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You and your buddy thought you could use and discard my girlfriend without any consequences because you're wealthy and connected, and I'm just some blue-collar nobody. That's not... Isn't it? You think I don't know how this works? You think I don't know that guys like you have been taking things from guys like me our whole lives? Jake was quiet for a moment. What if I post the apology? Will you leave Hazel alone? Maybe. Depends on how sincere it sounds. And Lucas? Lucas can go screw himself. But if he keeps trying to play victim and threatening me with lawyers, I might have to get more creative. What does that mean? I smiled. It means Lucas Morrison has a lot more to lose than I do. After Jake left, I sat in the bar for another hour, nursing a beer and thinking about my next moves. Jake seemed genuinely remorseful, which I could respect. Lucas, on the other hand, was still trying to avoid responsibility. That needed to change. I pulled out my phone and started researching Lucas's family business. Morrison Hotels owned 12 luxury properties across New England, catering to wealthy tourists and business travelers. Their reputation was built on discretion and high-class service. I wondered how their customers would feel about the heir to the company seducing engaged women at college parties. The next morning, I created a new email account and sent a detailed message to the Morrison Hotels corporate office, the company's board of directors, and several travel bloggers who reviewed luxury hotels. The email included a timeline of Lucas's behavior, links to the viral videos, and screenshots of his attempts to intimidate me. I presented it as a concerned citizen, warning about the character of someone who would soon be representing the Morrison brand. Within hours, my phone was ringing. Is this Graham? Who's asking? This is David Morrison, Lucas's father. I believe you know my son. I know your son likes to sleep with other men's girlfriends. Mr. Graham, I'm calling to see if we can resolve this situation like adults. I'm listening. My son made a mistake, and he's willing to make amends. What would it take for you to remove the online posts and stop contacting our business associates? It would take your son posting a public apology admitting what he did and promising to stay away from Hazel. That's not possible. Lucas is applying for PhD programs and law schools. A public admission of this nature could damage his prospects. Then I guess we don't have anything to discuss. Mr. Graham, please be reasonable. We're prepared to offer compensation for your pain and suffering. You want to pay me to shut up? I want to find a solution that works for everyone. Here's a solution that works for me. Your son takes responsibility for his actions like a man instead of hiding behind daddy's money. I'm afraid that's not an option. Then neither is me backing down. I hung up and immediately posted screenshots of the conversation to social media. The response was swift and brutal. Comments poured in condemning the Morrison family's attempt to buy their way out of accountability. Rich people think they can do whatever they want and just pay to make it go away. This is exactly what's wrong with our justice system. Boycott Morrison hotels until they fire this predator. Within 24 hours, Shark Morrison Hotels was trending on Twitter, and the company's Yelp reviews were being bombed with one-star ratings referencing Lucas's behavior. That evening, Jake Sullivan posted his public apology on Facebook. I want to apologize for my role in the events that occurred at a party 2 weeks ago. I knowingly participated in activities with a woman who was in a committed relationship, and I deeply regret the pain I caused to everyone involved. There is no excuse for my behavior, and I take full responsibility for my actions. I am truly sorry. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. I shared Jake's apology with a comment. This is what accountability looks like. Thank you, Jake, for doing the right thing. The contrast with Lucas's silence was stark, and people noticed. 3 days later, I got another call from David Morrison. Mr. Graham, this has to stop. You're destroying my family's business over a personal dispute with my son. Your son destroyed my relationship. Seems fair. What happened between Lucas and your girlfriend was a private matter between consenting adults. Was it? Because last time I checked, Hazel was engaged to me, not your son. That makes it my business too. What do you want? Money? A job? Name your price. I want your son to face the same consequences any other person would face for his actions. He's facing consequences. The stress of this situation has affected his health, his studies, his relationships. Good. Maybe next time he'll think twice before sleeping with someone else's girlfriend. Mr. Graham, I'm going to be very clear with you. If you continue this campaign against my family, we will be forced to take legal action. For what? Telling the truth? For harassment, defamation, and intentional interference with business relations. Go ahead. I'd love to see you explain to a judge why your son deserves special treatment for being a homewrecker. This isn't over. You're right. It's not. After I hung up, I realized I was enjoying this more than I probably should. For the first time in my adult life, I had power over people who thought they were untouchable. It was intoxicating. But I wasn't done yet. Over the next week, I expanded my campaign. I found contact information for Lucas's professors, his graduate program director, and the admissions offices of every law school he'd applied to. I sent each of them a detailed account of his behavior, complete with evidence and witness statements. I also reached out to local news stations with the story of how wealthy families use money and influence to shield their children from consequences. 2 stations expressed interest in doing segments about privilege and accountability in higher education. The pressure was working. Maya told me that Hazel had been trying to convince Lucas to post an apology, but he was refusing on advice from his family's lawyers. She's desperate, Graham. She thinks if Lucas apologizes publicly, maybe people will move on and she can rebuild her life. She's probably right. So why won't you just tell Lucas that? Why won't you give him a way out? Because I don't want to give him a way out. I want him to suffer the way I suffered. But you're hurting Hazel too. Hazel hurt herself. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. This isn't healthy, Graham. This obsession with revenge is consuming you. Maybe, but it's also the most alive I've felt in years. That weekend, everything came to a head. I was at Murphy's bar watching a college football game when Lucas Morrison walked in. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes that looked like he'd slept in them. He spotted me immediately and walked over to my table. We need to talk. No, we don't. Yes, we do. This ends tonight. I looked him up and down. You look like shit. Thanks to you, my life is falling apart. The law schools are withdrawing their acceptance offers. My professors are questioning my character. My family's business is hemorrhaging customers. Sounds like consequences? I'll post the apology, okay? I'll take responsibility and ask people to leave my family's business out of it. Too late. What do you mean, too late? I mean, the time for apologies was 2 weeks ago. Now I'm having too much fun watching your world burn. Lucas's face flushed red. You're a psychopath. Maybe. But I'm a psychopath who's winning. This isn't a game. Isn't it? Because it feels like a game to me, and I'm really good at games. Lucas leaned closer, lowering his voice. I know people who can make your life very difficult. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality to you. I stood up slowly, using my full height advantage over him. Let me explain reality to you, rich boy. I work with my hands for a living. I live in a neighborhood where people solve problems with their fists. I've got nothing to lose and nowhere to fall. I stepped closer, forcing him to crane his neck to look up at me. You, on the other hand, have everything to lose. Your trust fund, your family business, your fancy education, your pretty boy face. So if you want to escalate this beyond social media posts and bad Yelp reviews, I'm ready to play that game too. Lucas stepped back, and I could see fear in his eyes. But here's the thing, I continued. I don't want to hurt you physically. That would be too easy, too quick. I want to destroy you slowly, piece by piece, the way you destroyed my life. I didn't destroy your life. Hazel made her own choice. You're right. She did. And now I'm making mine. I sat back down and turned my attention back to the TV. You can leave now. Lucas stood there for another moment, then walked away without another word. But he wasn't done fighting. The next morning, I woke up to find my truck's tires slashed and Psycho spray painted across my garage door. There was also a brick through my front window with a note tied to it. Back off, or it gets worse. I took photos of everything and posted them to social media with the caption, "This is what happens when rich kids don't get their way. Lucas Morrison can't handle the consequences of his actions, so he resorts to vandalism and threats." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of people offered to help repair the damage. Someone started a GoFundMe to replace my truck tires. The local police opened an investigation into the vandalism, but more importantly, the story was picked up by regional news outlets. Local man's property vandalized after exposing affair ran on 3 different stations, complete with interviews and footage of the damage. Lucas had made a critical error. By escalating to physical actions, he'd given me everything I needed to paint him as an entitled criminal who thought money put him above the law. 2 days later, Lucas Morrison was arrested for criminal mischief and harassment. The booking photo showed a young man who looked nothing like the confident grad student from the party photos. This Lucas looked broken, desperate, and very much like someone who'd finally learned that actions have consequences. The arrest was the final nail in the coffin. Morrison Hotels issued a public statement distancing themselves from Lucas's behavior. His graduate program suspended him pending the outcome of the criminal case. And Hazel, according to Maya, finally realized that her choice to cheat had destroyed not just our relationship, but multiple lives. She wants to talk to you, Maya told me over the phone. She says she has something important to tell you. I'm listening. She wants to tell you in person. Not happening. Graham, I think she's finally ready to take full responsibility for what happened. She's not making excuses anymore. Good for her. She can take responsibility publicly, like everyone else. She's scared to post anything online. She's been getting death threats. From who? Random people who've seen the videos and posts. People calling her a whore, saying she deserves whatever happens to her. I felt a twinge of something that might have been guilt. I never encouraged anyone to threaten her. I know, but your posts have reached a lot of people, and some of them are taking things too far. That's not my responsibility. Isn't it? You started this campaign. You have influence over how it ends. I thought about that conversation for the rest of the day. Had I gone too far? Were the death threats and harassment my fault? But then I remembered the feeling of finding Hazel in that bedroom, the humiliation of being filmed while my heart broke in real time, the weeks of lies and deception that had led to that moment. No, I hadn't gone too far. I'd gone exactly as far as necessary. That evening, I made one final post to social media. 3 weeks ago, I caught my fiancé cheating on me at a college party. Since then, I've shared the truth about what happened and who was involved. Some people have criticized me for being too harsh, for taking my revenge too far. But here's what I want everyone to understand. Hazel Patterson didn't make one mistake. She made dozens of calculated decisions over the course of weeks. She chose to lie to me repeatedly. She chose to pursue relationships with other men while wearing my engagement ring. She chose to humiliate me in public while I was planning our future together. Lucas Morrison didn't make one mistake either. He chose to pursue a woman he knew was engaged. He chose to participate in her deception. And when he got caught, he chose to try to buy his way out of consequences rather than take responsibility like a man. These weren't momentary lapses in judgment. They were patterns of selfish, destructive behavior that hurt everyone around them. So no, I don't think I've gone too far. I think I've done exactly what needed to be done to make sure everyone knows who these people really are. Actions have consequences, choices have prices, and sometimes the price is higher than you expected to pay. This will be my final post about this situation. I'm moving on with my life. I suggest everyone else do the same. The post received over 500 comments and was shared more than 200 times. Most of the responses were supportive, with people praising me for standing up for myself and holding cheaters accountable. But there were also critics who said I'd become vindictive and cruel, that my need for revenge had turned me into something ugly. Maybe they were right. Maybe I had become something darker than I used to be. But as I sat in my garage that night, drinking a beer and looking at the engagement ring I'd never given to Hazel, I realized I didn't care. For 6 years, I'd been the nice guy, the understanding boyfriend, the man who put someone else's needs before his own. And what had that gotten me? Betrayal, humiliation, and a broken heart? But these past 3 weeks, I'd been something different. I'd been powerful. I'd been feared. I'd been the one making other people suffer instead of the one absorbing their cruelty. And I liked it. 6 months later, I heard through Maya that Hazel had dropped out of graduate school and moved back to Connecticut. Lucas had transferred to a different university and was facing a civil lawsuit from his family's insurance company over the damage to their business reputation. Jake Sullivan had graduated and moved to California, apparently having learned his lesson about the consequences of bad decisions. As for me, I was doing better than I'd been in years. I'd gotten a promotion at work, bought a new truck, and started dating a woman named Sarah who worked at the bank downtown. Sarah was nothing like Hazel. She was honest, straightforward, and had no interest in playing games. But sometimes, late at night when I couldn't sleep, I'd think about those 3 weeks of revenge and remember what it felt like to have that kind of power over other people's lives, and I'd wonder if I'd ever get the chance to feel that way again.